Imagine this for a second. You're 26 years old. You are at the absolute pinnacle of your career.
Right.
You're a professional athlete playing for a top-tier team in Toronto, which is, the center of the hockey universe. You've got the penthouse apartment, the reputation, all the endorsements. You are, for all intents and purposes, a king.
You've made it.
You've absolutely made it. And then, in the span of one very loud, very public argument, it is all gone.
It vanishes like smoke.
Completely. You get shipped off to, well, the worst team in the league. You're living in a hotel room in the suburbs. And the entire city you just left, millions and millions of people, hates your guts.
It's the classic nightmare scenario, isn't it? The fall from grace. It's a trope we see in literature all the time, from Greek tragedy all the way to modern sports biographies. But what makes the story we're covering today so fascinating is the why. Usually when an athlete falls that hard, it's because they gambled, or they got caught using drugs, or they just stopped performing on the ice.
Or they were just a jerk.
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
Right. A garden variety jerk. But in this case, our protagonist, loses everything. Not because he did something wrong, at least not in the moral sense, but because, for the first time in his life, he did something right.
Which is a genuinely terrifying premise.
It really is.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are digging into the novel Role Model by Rachel Reid. Now, it's the 5th book in her Game Changers series, but it absolutely stands on its own. You don't need any prior knowledge.
Not at all.
And we're focusing specifically on the first 12 chapters, so essentially the first act of the story.
And just to set the expectations for you listening, yes, this is a romance novel. Specifically, it's a queer romance set in the NHL. But, and this is a big but, if you go into this expecting just, lighthearted fluff and some flirting, you are going to be completely blindsided.
Oh, 100%.
This book is really a psychological study. It tackles toxic masculinity. It tackles institutional corruption in sports, the trauma of being in the closet, and the heavy, heavy weight of redemption.
It is surprisingly heavy. I mean, I will admit, I picked it up expecting, hockey players kissing, and I got that, but I also got a lot of sadness, a lot of pain.
That is the Rachel Reid special, as her fans call it. She lures you in with the hockey, and then she keeps you with the emotional damage.
So let's look at our main character, Troy Barrett. When we first meet him, he has just been traded from the Toronto Guardians to the Ottawa Centaurs. And for those who maybe don't follow hockey, how would you describe the difference between those two organizations, just in the context of this book?
Okay, think of it as moving from, say, the New York Yankees to a struggling minor league team that plays in a warehouse somewhere.
That's a good analogy.
The Toronto Guardians are prestige, their money, their immense pressure. The Ottawa Centaurs in this fictional universe are the league's punching bag. They have a half-empty arena, a terrible losing record, and just this general vibe of defeat.
And Troy is furious about being there.
He is, but I think he's more than furious. He's in shock. And this is where we really need to unpack the inciting incident from Section 1 of our outline. This trade, it wasn't a hockey decision. It was a punishment.
Right. The book gets very specific about a particular practice incident. Troy didn't just yell at a teammate. He went after his best friend, Dallas Kent.
And Dallas Kent isn't just any player. He's the golden boy. He's the superstar, the face of the franchise.
The untouchable one.
Exactly. But the source material gives us this really dark context. There are accusations swirling around Dallas, sexual assault accusations, multiple women posting their stories online, and the entire machinery of the hockey world, the team, the league, the media, is doing what institutions so often do.
They're protecting the asset.
They are protecting the asset, they're ignoring the women, they're circling the wagons.
Except Troy.
Except Troy. And this is so crucial for understanding his character, because he has been part of this bro culture his whole life. He has benefited from it immensely, but something in him just snaps. He reads the stories online, and he knows Dallas. He knows his best friend, and he knows Dallas is capable of this.
So he confronts him.
He does more than confront him. In the middle of a team practice, in front of everyone, he screams at him.
I have the quote right here. He calls him a piece of shit rapist.
He uses the word. He doesn't say jerk. He doesn't say abuser. He doesn't soften it. He says rapist. And in a hyper-masculine locker room code environment, that is the nuclear option. He broke the code of silence.
And the fallout is immediate.
Instant. He's traded the very next day.
Yeah.
But you have to look at the reaction. It's not like he's hailed as a hero. Far from it. Toronto fans hate him because they see him as a traitor who disrupted team chemistry.
Right. How dare you upset our star player?
Exactly. And Dallas Kent's fans, a huge portion of the fan base, they hate him because they think he's a liar. They're defending their idol. And then even the Ottawa fans, the team he is going to, they don't want him.
Now, why wouldn't they want a star player, even a controversial one?
Because the narrative that gets spun isn't Troy Barrett stood up for women. The narrative is Troy Barrett is a locker room cancer. He's expensive, he's known for being moody, and he just blew up his last team from the inside. So from their perspective, he's just trouble. He arrives in Ottawa with 0 allies, not a single one.
That brings us to the setting in Chapter 1. And this is one of my favorite details in the whole book because it's so bleakly funny. Troy's living in a hotel.
The Residence Inn lifestyle, the ultimate limbo.
And his view is a Costco parking lot.
It is such a brilliant literary device. We really need to analyze this for a second. In Toronto, Troy likely had a penthouse condo overlooking the skyline or maybe Lake Ontario, symbols of dominance, height, status.
King of the world.
Exactly. Now he's looking at a Costco. What does a Costco represent? It's utilitarian, it's suburban, it's mundane. It is literally big box consumerism.
Yeah.
There is nothing aspirational about a Costco parking lot.
It's just gray slush and endless shopping carts.
Precisely. It visually reinforces how small and how gray his world has become. He's just another guy in a hotel room now. But there's another psychological layer here that I think is even more important than the hockey trade.
You're talking about the breakup.
I am talking about the breakup. This
Yeah.
is a detail that the author introduces that creates what psychologists call disenfranchised grief.
Disenfranchised grief. Okay, break that down for us.
It's a type of grief that cannot be publicly acknowledged or socially supported. See, the world thinks Troy is miserable because he got traded and lost his hockey status, and he is.
Sure.
But the reader knows that just days before this whole scandal broke, Troy was dumped by his boyfriend of 2 years.
And this isn't just some random guy he was dating. He was dating Adrian, who is a famous TV actor.
A superhero actor. So you have this secret power couple, two deeply closeted celebrities at the top of their respective fields. They were hiding everything. And Adrian dumps him over FaceTime, by the way, which is just brutal, to start dating a director. And then gets engaged almost immediately.
Ouch. That's devastating.
It's absolutely devastating. But here is the disenfranchised part. Troy can't tell anyone. He can't go to a bar with a friend and say, my ex is getting married and I'm heartbroken. He can't post sad song lyrics on Twitter. He has to swallow that pain completely.
So if he looks sad at practice, everyone just assumes he's being a baby about the trade.
Exactly. His real pain is completely invisible, and he has no outlet for it.
So he's totally isolated. He has no friends on the new team, his family as well. We will definitely get to his family later.
Yep.
And his ex, his secret support system, is gone. So how does a guy even survive that?
He dissociates. He creates a persona. The book calls it his robot mode.
He literally stops smiling. He decides he won't smile anymore.
He stops smiling. He gives monosyllabic one-word answers to the press. He basically decides, if you've all decided I'm the villain, then fine. I will be a silent, cold villain. It's a defense mechanism. If he doesn't let anyone in, no one can hurt him again. He just walls himself off from the entire world.
So he walks into this Ottawa locker room, this cold, silent statue of a man.
Yeah.
And he is expecting a fight. He's expecting more of that toxic masculinity he just left.
He's braced for impact, but instead, he runs face first into a wall of sunshine.
And Eris Drover.
Eris Drover.
I love this character introduction. It is such a shock to the system after the grayness and the bleakness of Troy's hotel room. Harris is the team's social media manager. Can you paint the picture for us?
Visually, Harris is just a riot of color and energy. He's described as stocky, bearded, with this incredibly loud, infectious laugh. He wears denim jackets that are covered in enamel pins. He wears these bright pom-pom toques, which is a very Canadian term for a winter hat.
A beanie for our American listeners.
Right, a beanie with a pom-pom. He's tactile, he's loud, and most terrifyingly for Troy, he is visibly, undeniably queer.
He has pride pins on his jacket.
He has the pins. He's got a rainbow watch strap. Now, we have to talk about semiotics for a second, the study of signs and symbols. To a straight person, or even an ally, a rainbow pin is just a pin. It's a nice gesture. But to a man as deep in the closet as Troy, that pin is a siren. It's a flashing red light. It's a threat.
A threat? Why is it a threat? Wouldn't it be kind of a relief to see, one of your own?
You'd think so, but not when you are engaging in what sociologists call covering. Troy has spent his entire life, every single day, trying to pass as the ultimate straight jock. That's his survival strategy. Standing next to someone who is so openly, joyfully gay feels incredibly dangerous because of guilt by association.
So if he's too friendly with the openly gay guy, people might start to wonder about him.
Precisely. His whole carefully constructed facade could crumble, so he freezes.
He just scares.
He stares at the pins, and he is probably feeling this chaotic mix of terror and maybe recognition and deep, deep envy. But Harris doesn't know any of this. Harris just sees a grumpy, giant, straight hockey player staring at his pride flag with a scowl on his face.
Harris thinks it's hate. He thinks Troy is a homophobe.
Of course he does. I mean, what else is he supposed to think? He interprets the stare as disgust. He thinks, great, the new star player is a bigot and I have to work with him. It is a classic misunderstanding, a total miscommunication, but it's rooted so deeply in their specific individual traumas.
It's the ultimate meet awkward.
It really is.
Yeah.
But there is a third party in this initial relationship who kind of acts as a diplomat.
The puppy.
The puppy.
We absolutely cannot ignore the puppy.
Chiron, a golden retriever, I believe, who is a therapy dog in training. And Harris, in a stroke of genius, brings the dog into the locker room.
Which seems wild. For a professional sports team, is that a thing?
It's unusual, but it serves such an important narrative purpose here. The puppy is the only thing in the world that can bypass Troy's robot defense system. There's a scene where the dog just comes up and chews on Troy's glove or nudges his hand, and Troy smiles. He thinks no one is looking. And for just a second, the mask slips.
And Harris sees it.
And that is the hook.
Yeah.
That's the moment Harris realizes, okay, maybe he isn't a complete monster. Maybe there's a person in there. Maybe he just likes dogs. It gives Harris a reason to keep trying, to not write him off completely.
And he has to keep trying because it's his job. He has to interview Troy for the team's social media channels. And this Q&A scene, honestly, it made me laugh out loud, but it was also so painful to read.
It's a total power struggle, isn't it? Harris is trying to create content, fun, light, engaging videos to humanize this new player for the fans, and Troy is trying to give him absolutely nothing. He's stonewalling him.
They get into an argument about apples.
Yes. It's amazing. Harris's family, we learn, owns an apple orchard, the Drover family you pick. So Harris is an apple connoisseur. He knows his Honeycrisp from his gala. He asks Troy what his favorite kind of apple is, and Troy just says,
Red ones.
Red ones! It's weaponized incompetence. It's so passive-aggressive. Troy's refusing to play the game, refusing to be known.
But then the conversation shifts, and they talk about video games, and it turns out Troy plays Mario Kart.
And not only that, he plays as Yoshi, which is such a specific, non-threatening character choice. It's a little crack in the facade. You can't be a complete, irredeemable villain and main Yoshi. You just can't.
It's a tell. But in the middle of all this banter, the tone shifts pretty dramatically. Troy realizes that Harris genuinely thinks he is a bigot, and Troy panics.
This is such a pivotal moment in Section 2. Troy stops the interview prep, looks right at him, and says very explicitly and very seriously, I'm not a homophobe.
Why does he say that? I mean, why does he care what the social media guy thinks about him? He doesn't seem to care what anyone else thinks.
Because Harris represents the one thing Troy is starving for: safety. Even though he's terrified of Harris's openness, he is also desperately drawn to it. He can handle the fans booing him. He can handle the media calling him a cancer. He can even handle his dad yelling at him. But the idea of this nice, kind gay man thinking he is a hateful person, he can't stomach it. It's a moment of profound vulnerability, an attempt to bridge that gap without outing himself.
Speaking of people yelling at him, we really need to move to Section 3, the whole toxic versus healthy environment theme, because the book takes us out of Ottawa for a bit and sends the team on the road, and their first stop is Vancouver.
Troy's hometown.
You would think a homecoming would be a nice break for him, but
Yeah.
this section was heavy. This is where we meet Curtis Barrett, Troy's dad.
Curtis Barrett is a piece of work. He's described as a crane company millionaire. He's new money, he's loud, he's aggressive. But the dynamic we see between him and Troy, it basically provides the blueprint for all of Troy's trauma.
He brings his friends to Troy's hotel to gawk at him.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's a prize horse on display.
Exactly. It's pure objectification. Troy isn't his son. He's his famous, successful possession. But then the conversation turns to the scandal in Toronto. Now remember, Troy stood up to a rapist. A normal father, a loving father, would say, son, I'm proud of you for having integrity.
But Curtis doesn't say that. Not even
Yeah.
close.
No. Curtis, we learn, is friends with Dallas Kent's family. He's part of that same old boys club. He looks at his son, who is clearly in pain, and says, "You got punished." He frames Troy's act of moral courage as a strategic failure. He essentially tells him, "You should have kept your mouth shut and played the game. You embarrassed me."
That is messing with my head just hearing it. His own dad sides with the abuser over him.
It is conditional love in its purest, most toxic form. Curtis loves Troy as long as Troy's a winner, a star, and compliant with the rules of their world. The moment Troy becomes inconvenient, the moment he develops a conscience, that love evaporates. And we see Troy just revert to being a child. He shuts down completely, he goes to his room, and he drinks alone.
Which leads to a sort of intervention. But it's not from a therapist or a coach.
Yeah.
It's from Ilya Rozanov.
The captain of the Ottawa Centaurs. Now, Ilya is a fan-favorite character from a previous book in the series, but here we see him purely in his role as a leader. He finds Troy the next morning clearly hungover. In a toxic environment like the one Troy just left in Toronto, the captain might scream at him or fine him.
Or just ignore him. Let him self-destruct.
Right, mind your own business. But Ilya doesn't do any of that. He wordlessly hands him a Gatorade, he sits down with him, and he says this simple, powerful line, "Family can be hard."
It's such a simple line, but it means so much.
It's pure empathy. Ilya is signaling, "I see you, I'm not judging you, I get it, and I am here to help you up." It's the very first crack in the ice that's been forming around Troy for months.
And that crack gets blown wide open at the team BBQ.
The BBQ. This scene is the perfect visual and emotional opposite of that Vancouver hotel room. A little while later, Troy gets invited to a teammate's house, Zane Boodram.
Now, Troy is terrified to go. He is used to team parties in Toronto. And based on what we know about Dallas Kent, those parties were
Utter debauchery. We can infer there were probably drugs, women who were likely pressured into signing NDAs, just chaos. Troy is bracing himself for a frat house nightmare.
Instead, he gets out of the car and walks onto a deck.
And the first thing he smells is jerk chicken. He feels the warmth from the patio heaters. He looks around and he sees wives holding babies. He sees kids running around with little hockey sticks.
It's just wholesome.
It's shockingly normal. And for Troy, normal is the most shocking thing in the world. He genuinely didn't know a hockey team could just be a bunch of families hanging out on a Saturday.
And there's this key moment where a couple of his new teammates, Evan Dykstra and Bood, they actually corner him. And Troy's immediate thought is, okay, here it comes. They're going to tell me I'm not welcome to get lost.
His defenses are all the way up, but they do the exact opposite. They look him in the eye and they tell him, "We respect what you did in Toronto. You have a place here."
It's validation.
It's more than that. It's the concept of psychological safety, which is something Google famously studied in their Project Aristotle. They found that the highest performing teams in any field are the ones where members feel safe enough to take risks and be vulnerable without fear of punishment. Ottawa is offering Troy psychological safety. Toronto only ever offered him fear and conditional acceptance.
And Harris is there. He's the one who drove Troy to the BBQ.
He is, and that car ride itself is so significant. They listen to music, a singer named Fabian Sala, who's another character from the series, and they just exist together in the same space. It's low stakes, it's quiet.
Which brings us to the slow burn in Section 4. Because they aren't, kissing yet. They're just driving and existing.
It's parallel playing.
Okay, explain that term.
It's a developmental psychology term. Toddlers often play next to each other before they learn to play with each other. They'll sit side by side in a sandbox, doing their own thing, but aware of the other's presence. It's a way of building trust and comfort without direct pressure, and that's exactly what Troy and Harris are doing. And the best example of this is the Christmas lights drive.
Oh, this scene. Okay, so the context is Troy is spiraling because the team has to go back to Toronto for a game soon. He's basically having a panic attack at the thought of facing that crowd again. And Harris sees it and says, "Get in the truck."
He essentially kidnaps him for his own good, to go see Taffy Lane, which is this real street in Ottawa famous for its over-the-top aggressive Christmas decorations.
And Harris, being Harris, brings snacks.
Of course, he brings a thermos of warm mulled cider, but there's a line of dialogue in this scene that I think is the key to the entire first act. Harris makes a joke about his slow cooker.
Oh, the little husband line? I love that.
Yes. Harris says something like, "I love my slow cooker. It's like a little husband. It has dinner ready for me when I get home."
And Troy laughs, but he thinks it's unbelievably bleak.
It is bleak, but it's also deeply, profoundly vulnerable. Harris is admitting in a funny, self-deprecating way that he's lonely. He's admitting he comes home to an empty house and pretends a kitchen appliance is a partner. And Troy resonates with that so deeply because he's also coming home to an empty hotel room every single night.
It bonds them. They actually start talking about their families. Harris talks about his ghost.
Uncle Elroy, the friendly ghost who supposedly haunts the Drover family home, it's this quirky, loving detail about his family.
And Troy opens up a little bit and talks about his mom.
Right, who is traveling in Singapore. We learn that Troy's mom seems to love him, but she's distant. She's not physically there for him. So it reinforces this idea that both of these men, in their own ways, are profoundly lonely.
And after this drive, the whole dynamic between them changes. Troy starts initiating contact. He starts coming to Harris's office.
The office visits. This part is so sweet. Troy starts bringing Harris coffee every morning as an excuse to see him, and then he graduates to bringing cake pops.
Gordon the Snowman.
He names the cake pop. Again, this is the sunshine rubbing off on the grump, but you have to notice the body language in these scenes. Troy doesn't sit in the other chair and make formal conversation. He sits on the floor with the puppy, Chiron, while Harris works at his desk. He's just being there. He's soaking up Harris's warmth and presence like a plant soaking up sunlight.
But he also starts asking questions. Very dangerous questions.
He does. He starts probing. He asks Harris about dating men. Do you ever bring boyfriends to team events? How do people react? Is it weird?
He's vetting the lifestyle. He's doing market research.
Exactly. He is using Harris as a simulation. He's asking, if I were to come out, if I were to take that terrifying leap, would it look like this? Could I have what Harris has? He's trying to imagine a future for himself that doesn't end in complete disaster.
Well, speaking of disaster, we have to go to Toronto, Section 5. The game.
This is the climax of the external conflict. Troy has to go back and face the dragon in its den.
And the atmosphere in the arena is described as just poisonous. The booing is so loud it literally vibrates in his chest every time he touches the puck.
And Dallas Ken is on the ice. He isn't just playing, he's hunting Troy. Every time they're near each other, he's whispering in his ear horrible things. Traitor, Merry Christmas, bitch. Just twisting the knife.
But Troy scores.
He scores. He channels all of that rage and pain and fear into his performance. And this is the moment Dallas finally breaks. He can't stand that Troy is succeeding. So Dallas skates by him and delivers a slur.
We don't have to say the specific word, but it implies.
It's a vile, homophobic comment. It's designed to do one thing: humiliate and emasculate Troy in the most painful way possible.
But someone hears it.
Ilya Rozanov hears it.
And what happens next is, well, it's sudden, it's violent.
It is. Ilya drops his glove, skates directly at Dallas Kent, and punches him squarely in the face.
Yeah, just lays him out.
Now, to an outsider, this just looks like a hockey fight, an assault. But we have to look at this through the specific lens of hockey culture. This is the enforcer role taking a different form, even though Ilya isn't a traditional enforcer. In the unwritten code of hockey, a punch is a language. It communicates boundaries and allegiances very, very clearly.
So what is Ilya saying with that punch? What's the message?
He is saying, you do not touch him. You do not speak to him that way. He is one of ours now. An attack on him is an attack on all of us. It is a physical manifestation of that psychological safety we talked about at the BBQ. Ilya sacrifices his own game, he gets ejected immediately, to protect Troy's dignity.
It creates a bond, a blood pact almost.
It absolutely does, and that adrenaline, that feeling of being protected for the first time, it carries them to the next city on their road trip, which is New York.
Section 6. This is the part of the book where I was just gripping the pages. After the game, they go to a bar called the Kingfisher.
Yeah, post-game, New York City. Ilya basically drags Troy out. Now, Troy thinks they're just going to a regular sports bar to decompress. But the Kingfisher is owned by two characters named Scott Hunter and Eric Bennett.
And for those who haven't read the earlier books in the series, who are they?
They're the OGs. They are active, superstar NHL players who are out, married to each other, and wildly successful. They are living proof that it's possible. And their bar, it is a queer space, a gay bar.
So Troy, who has spent his entire life in the closet, walks into a gay bar in New York City with his hockey captain. And what does he see?
He sees his entire reality shattering. He sees other hockey players, men he respects, men he looks up to, being openly affectionate with their partners. He sees a world where you can be a strong, masculine, elite athlete and love other men. It proves that his father was wrong. It proves that the Costco parking lot view isn't the only option available to him.
And on a walk back to the hotel, the dam just breaks. Ilya starts the conversation.
And you have to pay attention to Ilya's specific phrasing here. It's so gentle. Troy asks him, "Why did you punch Dallas?" He's asking for the real reason, and Ilya says, "I have not ever said I was straight."
He doesn't come out and say, "I'm bi" immediately. He says, "I haven't said I'm straight."
It's such a careful, deliberate opening of the door. He is signaling to Troy, "I am a safe person. I am not part of the straight world that hurts people like you." He's giving Troy an invitation.
And Troy.
Troy walks through that door, he takes a breath, and he says the words out loud for the first time to another person. "I'm gay."
How big is that moment for his character?
It's seismic. You have to imagine the physiological release of that. He has been holding that breath for 26 years. He has lost his boyfriend, his friends, his reputation, all to protect that one secret. And now he says it to his captain on a random street in New York City, and the world doesn't end.
In fact, Ilya immediately makes a joke.
He does, which is the most perfect, supportive thing he could have done. He says something like, "I know you want to kiss Harris."
He just calls him out on his crush.
It's brilliant. By teasing him, Ilya instantly normalizes it. He turns it from this dark, shameful, life-destroying secret into a simple, common locker room crush. He makes it mundane. He makes it okay.
Troy also gets a souvenir from the bar before they leave. A pin.
The big gay apple. It's a little enamel pin of an apple, like an apple for New York City, but the apple has a rainbow heart in the middle.
Which brings us directly to Section 7. The almost kiss. They're back in Ottawa. It's a few days before Christmas.
And Troy has the pin in his pocket. He finds Harris during a holiday photo shoot with the puppy, and he gives it to him.
It's such a significant gesture. He is giving Harris a piece of the new world he just discovered, a world Harris helped him find.
It's a talisman. It's Troy saying, non-verbally, "I went to your world and I saw that it was safe and I brought this back for you." And Harris is incredibly touched by it. You can tell his own little rainbow heart fluttered as he says.
They go for a walk in the parking lot afterwards. The puppy, Chiron, is with them. And of course, in classic rom-com fashion, the puppy tangles the leash around their legs.
It's a classic trope, but it's so effective here. It physically pulls them together, chest to chest.
They're inches apart, close enough to kiss.
And Harris wants to. We get Harris's point of view sometimes, and we know he wants to. But here, we see Troy's reaction through his actions. The text says Troy looks scared but willing. His eyes are wide and bright. He's leaning in.
He wants it. After everything, he wants it.
He wants it desperately. But then his avoidant attachment style kicks in.
Avoidant attachment, what does that mean?
It's an attachment style that psychologists identify, and it's often characterized by a deep-seated fear of intimacy. When people get too close, when things get too real, the avoidant person pulls the ripcord and bails. Troy has been trained by his father and by the entire hockey world that vulnerability equals punishment. So even though his body and his heart want the kiss, his brain is screaming, "Danger! Abort! Abort!"
So he runs.
He laughs nervously, a high panic sound. He untangles the leash, makes a flimsy excuse, and he literally flees to the gym. He chooses the safety and control of the workout over the risk and vulnerability of the kiss.
And that is essentially where Act 1 ends. Troy is in his own apartment now, which is a big step. He's moved out of the hotel. But he's facing Christmas completely alone.
It's such a bittersweet ending to this whole section of the book. He's made so much progress. He came out to Ilya. He has real friends now, like Bood and Evan. But he hasn't conquered the final boss, which is himself. He hasn't let himself be loved.
So bringing this all together for a minute, we've talked about the contrast between the toxic bro culture of Toronto versus the inclusive family culture of Ottawa. We have talked about the power of allies like Ilya Rozanov. But I want to go back to that central imagery, the Costco parking lot versus the rainbow pin.
The gray versus the color.
Exactly. Troy is moving from a completely black and white world into a technicolor one, thanks to Harris and the Centaurs. But he's still just standing on the threshold, too afraid to step all the way in.
And that's the central tension of the book, right? Can you learn to live in color when your entire career, your entire identity up to this point has demanded that you be gray?
So here's the thought I want to leave our listeners with today. As readers, we root for Troy to kiss Harris. We want the romance, we want the happy ending. But I want you to think for a moment about the risk that Harris is taking.
Oh, it's a huge risk. He's an employee of the team.
He's an employee. If Harris dates a player, especially a closeted, controversial star player, he could lose his job. He is the subordinate in this power dynamic. So my question for you to mull over is this. Can true intimacy ever exist when the power dynamics, both professional and societal, are so uneven? And maybe more importantly, is it fair for Troy to drag Harris into his messy, dangerous closet?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Is love enough to bridge that massive gap between the pariah and the sunshine?
You will have to read the rest of the book to find out. But for now, that's our deep dive into the first act of Role Model.
Thanks for listening, and, maybe check on your friends who make jokes about their kitchen appliances being their husbands.
See, it might just be a little lonely. We'll see you next time.